this is like fun with other, running friends. So I'm like, I'm going to do it because I knew it would put me in a good mood. You are my BRF.
What's happening, Erika?
There for your victory lap.
Yeah.
Whoa!
How did that happen?
How did you do that?
And all of a sudden I go to zip it up and I'm like, why is the zipper in the front right now? 0 out of 10 on the recommendation scale.
I am literally crying from laughter and from so much love. Oh my God.
It's like I see off for your cornhole.
And he just smashed Arnie like that and said, you stay out of this, Arnie. And like,
But I don't run to stay sober. I get to run because I am.
And there she was, a halo over her head.
No, it's not very true. Okay.
And he steps to the side and just gestures. Here's the tinkle pot.
I don't need to tinkle.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Our next guest on the pod, our second family pod fam, becoming first family pod fam after our very own 6-star Erika met them last year at the Flying Pig. They're runners in love who do it all from race directing to ultra marathons. It is our pleasure to welcome Darris and Star Blackford to the On the Runs podcast. What's up, guys?
Hey, how are you?
Hello. Thank you for having us.
We are super pumped to have you here, Darris and Star. I will take credit for meeting you guys over at Flying Pig last year, and it was awesome to do so, but I cannot go without saying that I would not have made the introduction without our very own Patrick Lieber, because he has spoken so highly of you guys so many times, and I know he loves the Columbus Marathon, or I should say half marathon. I think, has he run the full?
He doesn't run marathons. We know this.
But he loves running the half marathon, and he does it for the very wonderful cause, which we will get into later. But it was just so nice to actually meet your acquaintance there. And you guys did tease some very fun stories that I hope we touch upon when we talk today.
Yeah. And honestly, I want to give a shout out to Patrick too. I mean, he's not just a great supporter. His daughter only lives about a mile from us, as it turns out. He lives 2 hours away in Northeast Ohio, where I grew up. But I have actually run into Patrick when I've been out on a run in Columbus, and there he was. It's just crazy.
What are the odds?
Yeah,
amazing odds.
Yeah.
We have a lot of pod fam actually in Ohio. A lot of them, Angela Pohl, Jeannie Rice, other people who've been on this podcast before. We love our Ohio pod fam. Are you part of the NERC community? I think it's Northeast Running Club community in Ohio.
No, they're up in Northeast Ohio. I've actually spoken to the group before, met with them, and they brought a big contingent. They have brought many times big contingents to the Columbus Marathon. Again, Ohio is kind of a unique situation. We do have, you mentioned earlier, the Flying Pig, the Columbus Marathon, the Cleveland Marathon, and the events are kind of not interchangeable in regards to the efforts that we all put into them, but the people. A lot of times we'll go to the expo, we'll be promoting Columbus at Flying Pig or at Cleveland, and we see people from around the state that we see all the time.
Yeah, and then I want to give a shout out to Angela Pohl. Actually, just back in August, we were at a retreat with her in Flagstaff for 4 days. It was a running and writing retreat that's put on by Dream Run Camp, which is the brainchild of Matt Fitzgerald. He's written a number of, so you're nodding in acknowledgement.
I am familiar.
so many books he's written in the running space, and he hosted this retreat. And Angela was there, and she was actually in our house. There were 3 separate houses that retreat participants stayed in. Mm-hmm. So, we really got to know her quite well, and she is just such an incredible woman. So
I love it. And so this is just expanding our wonderful Ohio pod fam, because not only do we have you guys now, but we also have Jared Ewing, who's a part of the Ohio pod fam. There's just so many of you wonderful people. Welcome to the podcast.
Yay.
What we do like to do on the podcast, though, is get to know you a little more. So we believe you're from Ohio, or at least live in Ohio, but tell us a little bit about yourselves individually. And then, because we're very fortunate to have the two of you on, tell us how the two of you met.
Oh,
we love a love story. We really do.
Should we bury the lead?
So for the next 90 minutes, we're going to talk about our history. Now, Star, I'll let you start.
So I actually grew up in Buffalo, New York, born in Arizona, Still have the desert in my blood. We'll get to there when we talk about ultras. But lived in Buffalo until I was 22, 23. Buffalo is where I started running. I didn't run in high school or college. I just kind of picked it up one summer as something new to try and better than the old exercise videos. I'm dating myself here, but if anyone remembers Gilad or Denise Austin or Fitness Pros, like that used to be my jam. And I got to Ohio because I met someone at the Pittsburgh Marathon. But we'll get to telling that story a little bit more.
So I grew up in Northeast Ohio, in the Akron, Ohio area. And I went to Kent State. I was a journalist, newspaper reporter for 10 years, including a stint down in Florida, down in Tampa. And then I ended up in Columbus, and I've been here I moved here in 91. So it's 33 years already. So the Columbus Marathon was my very first marathon back when I moved to Columbus in 1991. And I had a history. I was involved with the race, and I put together the pace teams for the race back in 1999. And then that following spring, I organized the pace teams for the Pittsburgh Marathon. It was the year that they hosted the Olympic trials for men. And lo and behold, some person came up to me, and I tried to explain how the pace team was going to help her, but it was going to be warm, so she needed to slow down her pace. And she felt she knew better than I did. And lo and behold, it's the only time I was ever right since then. And from there, we started dating.
It's not true. He has a notebook, and every once in a while, when he's right about something, I make sure that he records it in the notebook. There've been maybe a dozen instances over the past 22 years.
So you know what you should do? You should take that notebook and make it a book, and I think Patrick can help you publish it.
Yeah, exactly.
He knows the ins and outs.
We met at a marathon. I proposed at a marathon, which was just crazy.
Also, not a disaster.
It was a crazy story. Well, I'll tell it when you're ready.
Oh, absolutely.
But we just have really through running, it has become a not just a lifestyle. It's become our career, and we've been so fortunate. We're working on a book, and I thought about, when I was out running the other day, I thought about the subtitle, which is how we made money in running without being fast.
Don't give it away, because we don't want anyone stealing our thunder, even though it's our story to tell.
But that's the thing, because we've through the race directing and the organization of the pacing and all that, we've just been very blessed to have been able to kind of make a living out of this, and more importantly, I think make an impact. You want to do something in life that you're making a difference. And when we were at Cliff Bar, we were making a huge difference in people's lives, helping them accomplish these dreams of running. And now with Columbus, Star's the registration coordinator, so she's the most hated person every year at our race, particularly when we sell out. But we're raising $1 million a year for Children's Hospital, so we're doing a lot of good. And so that's a good feeling beyond just being happy with what we're doing with our life.
I love that. Should we jump into the Columbus Marathon and find out a little more about that, and then we can dig into some of the personal stories later? What do you want to do, Eric?
Yes and no, but I actually want to jump into Darris's first marathon, which was the Columbus Marathon. We love to sometimes hear that first marathon story, because marathons are hard, and a lot of the times people
Eric just ran one yesterday, so this is
fantastic.
We're talking November of 2024. This will drop in 25, but yeah, he knows how difficult they are now.
And I love that first marathon story.
Marathon yesterday?
No, but I
but it's fresh in your mind.
Oh yeah, I had a harsh reminder how hard these things are. I haven't run one in a few years. So, but everyone, when I always ask, like, tell me about your first marathon, they're just like, oh, God, that was awful. Darris,
Yes.
how was your first marathon, the Columbus Marathon, which is kind of like full circle, I think we'll get there at the end because now you race direct it.
Well, it all started. My brother was and is a very accomplished runner. He 227, 226 marathoner back in the day.
Oh, that's
And
impressive.
the Columbus Marathon was his first marathon. And I didn't run in high school or college like Star. I took it up after college. But I had my brother as kind of a guide to learn from. And when he did Columbus as his first, I thought, well, I moved to Columbus in 1991. And that fall, I signed up for the marathon. And I thought, based upon my brother and his skills and my training and all that, I thought, yeah, I'm going to qualify for Boston right out of the gate. It's going to be great. I got all this family lineage and blah, blah, blah. And I just, to your point, Eric, it is hard. I went out and I thought I was just, doing great. And I missed the Boston qualifier. And I got to mile 24 and I was walking. I was done. I just was so miserable, but I got through it. And I have an article that I wrote that year for the newspaper. There was a column you could write. We had a guy who covered the weather. And when he was off, us, the junior reporters, got to write the column. And it was about anything you wanted it to be, but the last line had to be about the weather. So I talked about my training for Columbus. The last week before, I was leading into the weather for the day of the marathon, but it talked about how it was so cold. It was just freezing cold. And I talked about all the suffering that I had to go through, but hopefully it would pay off in the race. But no, it was very difficult, but I was hooked. I didn't do another one for a whole year. And that next year I didn't train hardly at all. And I cut 10 seconds off my time. And I thought, A, it's going to take forever to get to Boston. But B, I'm like, why did I bother training so hard the first time when the second time I did better and it didn't even take as much? So, yeah, it was a rough go, but I don't say I would love it. I love the challenge, and I like the training. The events have always left me. Very rarely have I had that feeling of it all went well. And that's after 200 plus marathons. I only have a handful.
That's a big number.
Well, Star is there too. She has 4 less than me. And I know that because I have to keep track.
But I have the 100-mile PR in
but
the
she
family,
has the 100-mile PR.
Star, do you remember your first?
I do. So my first was 1998, and I did it in Buffalo, which is where I was living at the time. It's 22. I ran it with a good friend of mine. We had actually met. We both worked at Starbucks, and so we trained together. We both had this cockamamie idea that we wanted to do this thing. And back in 98, I don't want to say it was countercultural at all, but it certainly wasn't the come one, come all atmosphere that it is today. The point I'm making with this is there was pretty much an expectation that if you were reasonably young and reasonably healthy, your first marathon as a woman, you broke 4 hours. I mean, that was just how it was supposed to go. Mm-hmm. And I got this brilliant idea that I'm sure all of our listeners will love. I decided I was running with my friend was a guy, and I got this idea that I would run with him until I got tired, and then I'd slow down. Mm-hmm. And I can assure you that I slowed down. I made it to about mile 16 or so with him. And it wasn't egregious. He ran about a 350 and I ended up running 409. But what stands out to me the most, and I used to share this with my pace groups all the time, people hear over the course of my journey, more than 200 marathons, 317 PR, multiple times under 320. What stands out to me the most is that first marathon, getting to mile 23, digging hard candy out of my Umbro soccer shorts. So it's like one of those cinnamon disc candies, sucking on this cinnamon disc while hugging a tree and just having tears stream down my face because I was so tired and so sore and so hungry and so overwhelmed that, yeah, so the short version is I hugged a tree and cried at mile 23, my first one. Then the icing on the cake was that mile 25 of this race was 1 block away from the apartment building I lived in at the time. And what a lot of people tend to say, they're like, oh man, 25 though, you know you're there. Of course you're going to finish. To the contrary, I'm like, isn't this close enough? Like, I mean, close enough. Can I go lay down now? And of course I finished and it was wonderful. But yeah, it was a true marathon, the first one that I ran. And I have certainly had a true marathon in Akron just a couple last fall. It was a true marathon. I was going into it without a lot of cares, thinking, I'm just going to use it as a training run for the 100 I've got coming up. And no matter how many you've done, you've got to go in with that respect because your body decides what's going on that day. So yeah,
absolutely. Marathons are no joke. And you guys collectively have done a ridiculous number together. Yeah. The number is staggering, but congratulations. I just love that you guys still have a love for the distance, even though it is a marathon and it is hard and it takes work. And
one thing I want to jump in with, one thing really important to me, for the listeners, those are staggering numbers. And what I want to make sure all the listeners understand is that the bulk of those, I would say 2/3 of those, were when we were pacing. And while I admit that those are still marathons, I like to ask people to think of those in terms of training efforts, because when I was in peak shape and running those 320s, I was pacing at 4 and 4:15. So please know that we are not people who are able to go out there and pop these off with these great times all the time. We were doing those more as training runs and in service to others. So do not try this at home, I guess is what I'm saying.
I feel like we have that disclaimer a lot, right? We definitely do. I have to be like, don't take my advice. I'm not a doctor kind of stuff. So yeah, take all these with a grain of salt.
So Star, that might be a great lead then. Marathon training runs for many ultra marathons you've done. You've done 100 milers, you've done Badwater. You both have done ultra marathons. You're ultra marathoners. Tell us, how did you move up from hugging a tree in your first marathon to eventually doing an ultra marathon?
It's his fault. He started it.
I had done, again, we were really heavily into the pacing by 2004, 2005, 2006. And I had been, mileage I was a high mileage person all the time already. And there was a new ultra marathon starting in my hometown. It literally started in the town where my first job in newspapers was, Willoughby, Ohio, and it finished in the town I grew up in, Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio, called Burning River. And I thought, well, I'm going to sign up for that race. It's a 100-miler, and that was 2007. So the training to me really wasn't all that different. To your point, I would do 25-mile training runs or 30 or 40, whatever it was. The jump wasn't that bad when I was already doing 100-mile weeks pretty consistently. But it was a definite wake-up call. I shouldn't have done the race. I was injured the day. I had hurt my back the week of the race. I was crooked. And I was on the bus to the start. They bussed us up to the start from the finish. And I told my friend who was doing it with me, I said, George, I'm going to drop out at mile 5. I'm going to start because I paid all the money and I'm here. I'm going to ceremonially just do 5 miles and drop out. And I did the whole thing. I got to mile 60. Mile 65. And I mean, I'm crooked. I'm doing the lean already. And my back was so knotted up. Star jumped in. The last 35 miles took us 11 hours to walk, but we did it and we finished the race.
And this was early in his 100-mile journey. He hadn't even anticipated having a pacer. So I don't recall what it was, but my outfit was very strange. I was in running shoes, but I had no intention of participating. Okay. So even though it was, I don't want to say only walking, even though we walked for 11 hours, I just remember it was a very strange get up of clothing that I had on. Darris, while I absolutely respect your response, and I did say you were the one that started it, you did gloss over the real story of our entrance to ultras, which was the Vanderlei de Lima.
Oh yeah.
Darris, what were you thinking?
So you remember the 2004 Olympics in Athens? Is that correct?
Maybe.
I think you're spot on.
I'll let Eric fact check.
Was it Athens, or was it 2004 or 2008?
Was the defrocked priest in Athens, or I thought?
No, he was in Athens.
Yeah, that's right. It was because
I think it was 4. 06 was Salt Lake City. 08 was
Athens was 2004.
Okay.
Confirmed.
Okay. So in 2004, if you remember that the Olympic marathon, and there's a Brazilian who's in the lead, and at mile 23, a spectator comes out of the crowd, tackles him. The Italian Stefano Baldini goes on to win, and Meb Keflezighi got the silver. And Vanderlei de Lima from Brazil hung on for third. Well, we felt so compelled to celebrate his efforts.
So moved were we by his spirit.
That in 2005, Star and I and 2 other people created the Vanderlei de Lima honorary 50-miler. Because he's not gone, so it wouldn't be a memorial 50-miler.
Yeah.
So we did this race on the 4th of July in 2005. We started at our friend's house and ran downtown Columbus, did the Columbus Marathon course, then added on 15 or so miles to do the 50. We ran into, during that run, remember
William Hung.
William Hung from American Idol?
Is he the She Bangs guy?
Yes.
No, he wasn't the She Bang. Yeah, he was.
He was.
Yeah, no, he was.
She boom.
Was he
she
running?
Boom.
He was the honorary grand marshal of a parade in Columbus on July 4th called the Doodah Parade. And it's basically this amateur parade of people that do all sorts of silly things. It's people on riding lawnmowers, people, little kids, all this weird stuff. Well, William Hung was the honorary, and we literally ran into him. He was coming out of his hotel, and we were running by in the Vanderlei de Lima honorary 50-miler. And we got a photo with him, which was classic.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that was kind of our entry to that. So we did that run for
3 years.
For 3 years, 2005 and 6 and 7 was the last time, was kind of my training run for that 100-miler. But we only did it for 3 years because he came in third. And you could only
only be third.
Yeah, you could only be third place. Nobody won. Nobody got worse than third. We all were finished in third place.
I made race bibs on back of the old Cliff Bar pace team pacing bibs that you would write your time on. Everybody was number 3. As the race grew over the 3 years that it took place, we added the Vander Scoot, which was our kids' run. We added the Vander Bark, which was the dog jog.
Oh my gosh.
It became quite a production.
It was just us play running. You know, I mean,
it was a fat ass before fat asses.
It was.
Existed.
It was really fun. Really a neat little event. We also have stories about Meb that we'll get into later.
Very cool.
So that kind of got me into the ultra thing, and I tried some official ones, a couple 50Ks. I think I did a 50-miler, and then did the 100, and then I did the 100 again the following year in 2008. And Star, that was your first one.
That was. Yeah.
Oh wow.
We had a different race that year. It was another Olympic year. 2008, wherever they were.
Not this.
And I was running the race.
I love it, Star.
I took the lead at mile 15 in this 100-miler. I mean, I'm coming into aid stations and people are like, you're in the lead. And I said, I know, this is crazy, isn't it? But I would say that it's an Olympic year and you can't win if you're not in the lead. Well, that didn't last long. I suffered greatly. I never saw Star. I don't know if you ended up catching me, but she had a much better experience than I did.
So what went wrong? So did you just burn out from trying to hold the lead for too long?
You can't run 100-miler like that. It's ridiculous. It's about conservation, energy, and enthusiasm. And I just was way over my skis and felt like, just because you feel good at mile 15 or 20, you're not going to feel that way at mile 50 or 60. As I've learned over the many times, I've dropped out of more hundreds than I finished, and I finished, I think, 7. So
okay, that's still a very impressive number, and I can totally relate. I just recently ran 100 myself, and I was miserable. I like had an emotional breakdown during half of it. I was like, this is not how it's supposed to go.
But
the feet hurt.
You
and just
got
everything.
it done, and I meant to comment on that Instagram post, and it got buried under other things because it has been a long week in Insta world, but
well, you guys are just all over the place doing your own thing, so I appreciate you thinking of me, but I'm just so impressed with you guys.
Well, the worst part of it is I hate trails, and I come into the aid stations. People are like, "Hi, what do you need?" Leave me alone. I hate all of you. Star comes in. I love all of you. You're all wonderful people. You're angels. Thank you. It's just, she's just so different in her the whole grasp of it all. And I wish I had that skill and that talent just to like it.
So I also have I have 3 non-time goal, non-finish related mantras that I go into every race with. So regardless of whether or not I'm going into an ultra with a time goal or just going in it to experience it and finish it, the first one is to find and record the moments of joy. So as I'm running along, I'm actually listing in my head, like this thing about the sunrise, or I saw a deer here, or I heard this funny thing here. And I kind of build up that list. And then when I'm feeling low, I go back and I go through that list. And then when my pacer comes in, it's also a great way to jumpstart a positive conversation, what have been the great experiences today? What have been the highlights? The second one is enter every aid station with joy, because that's my way of respecting the volunteers that have been there all day and that are taking care of the hungry and smelly and battered bodies. And so that one really speaks to when you're like, you walk in and I'm like, I hate this. This is awful. It's like, I may not actually be or feel joyful, but I'm reminding myself as I approach that aid station, you are going to enter this aid station with joy. And then the third one is always to show excitement and love and gratitude when I see Darris. And that can be hard because that's the person that I'm most comfortable being vulnerable with, but I can't give him any excuse to give me an excuse to stop. So the more, I'm not saying that I would ever overlook if something were truly physically wrong that needed attention, but muting the negative parts of the experience for me keeps everyone kind of pushing forward.
Those are great. I need to remember those because I know that it is like, sure, it can be like 90% running or not, but like there's such a balance of the mental game that you just have to work through. And I am not good at that yet. Like I have not managed how to balance out the emotions with the good, and I may be hurting, but there's, it's just such a mental thing to get through. Just remembering the joy, giving it back to volunteers, that's always like, that is a huge rule. And I love that you do that because where would a race be without volunteers?
Yeah.
Right.
And just trying to, just balance it out. I love that.
Yeah.
Star, I could have used that advice yesterday, by the way.
Oh, Eric.
I was great with all the aid stations, but if they weren't paying attention, I wasn't like, excited to see that, they were awesome. There was this one though. We have a friend named Yuki, and I saw her twice. And the second time I was just like, I got 2 miles to go. I'm out of it. and she had her head down filling waters, and I was just like, thanks for the water, and it kept going. She had no clue it was me.
I get it. That's completely me. I get it. I don't want to leave me alone.
Right. I didn't want to. If she was like, go, Eric, I would have felt like I had to really go. And I was just like, I'm not ready for it.
I had a miss at Akron last fall. I think my socks had shrank in the dryer because it was a sock and shoe combination I've run in quite a bit. Mm-hmm. And I was getting a really, really bad, it was a blister. It was not even a hot spot. And I asked for a Band-Aid. And then I'm kind of standing there. This was actual med tent. It wasn't just a water stop.
Yeah.
And then this guy looks at me and he goes, oh, you know what? She left them in her car. She just ran back to get them. And I'm like, what? And then I was like, I mean, I'm not having a great day, but I'm not waiting for someone to go to their car. Like, I gotta go. So Eric, I wouldn't feel bad about a miss because I think they all happen. So
for sure.
Oh, man. Did you eventually get a Band-Aid? Let me ask you that. Did somebody give you one eventually?
I did. Actually, no, I did not, but I got a huge, thick lash of Vaseline to put on it, and that was enough.
There you go.
Good.
Yeah, it all worked out fine.
Well, I want to go back to your running story soon. I know you've both done Badwater. I even have a note that Star might have a disturbing code brown, but let's go back full circle with the Columbus Marathon. So, Darris, this was your first ever marathon. You both live in Columbus now. This is now also your baby. You're the race director, and this isn't a little marathon in a small town, small state. This is Columbus, Ohio. It's the nationwide hospital. This is like nationwide, like the big nationwide insurance, nationwide company. This is Patrick's favorite, where he talks about all the patients who are healthy enough to be outside or out there, and they have the signs. This is your baby. This is a big project. And I would love to hear all about this race and race directing, and spare no details. I promise you, spare no details. Tell us like how you got into this position. Give us all the details of what goes on months in advance, and then race day itself.
Wow. I'll start by how I got involved. So again, having a background in the media and newspapers, and then I started a PR and marketing company after that, and was doing the pace. And again, being with Cliff Bar for 18 years allowed us to not just travel to races, but to study races. Mm-hmm. I was really able to see the ins and outs of things. So by being involved in races to that degree, where we were really part of a race team, whether it was Marine Corps or LA or
the Disney
portfolio race, we paced at all of those, but we were really kind of part of the race team. So because we were representing those organizations, same thing with New York. So we had this experiences. I got to kind of learn about the ins and outs. So I was doing marketing. One of my projects became the Columbus Marathon. The person who does the PR and communications asked me if I would help out with the marketing. I'd already been doing the pace teams since 1999 with the race. I've been very involved. And so from 2006 to 2009, I was doing the marketing as part of the communications team. And 2010, the board made a decision. They really, the company and organization that was running it, it's a nonprofit entity with a board, but then they contracted out the race organization services. Well, there had been an issue with the organizers, and there was two owners, and they basically kind of went head to head with each other. And long story short, the board asked me if I would take over. Mm-hmm. And I said, sure, I'd be honored. I was working for a company at the time doing marketing. It was the Harley Davidson dealerships in Columbus, and there was 3 of those. And I thought, yeah, I'll take this job on, no problem. I got the job in May of 2010. Nothing had been done.
Oh, so this is for the October race, right? Race. Oh, okay.
So first thing I did was gave everybody on the team a raise. And the reason I did that was because I needed these people I needed them on my side, because it was May And we're talking 4 months later, 5 months later, the race is happening. And they'd all been involved as well. They were my teammates when I was doing the marketing. So I was able to work it out to get everybody to kind of show their appreciation for what they had done over the years, and also hopefully get a little bit of loyalty, which it worked. I mean, that wasn't the only reason, but we were able to salvage the race, make the race great. And then from there, I kind of just was able to build upon that for in 2011, a great year. Right after that, 2012, we started the partnership with Nationwide Children's Hospital. And this is a really unique situation in the entire country where the other races do charity work. We had done charity work, raise money for charities, but to have this alliance with the hospital, people might think the St. Jude's is that way, but ours is unique in how we structured it, where we put the event on, the hospital, they sell it, they pitch it, they get all the proceeds, the sponsorship. We're fortunate that we raise enough money through our registration and through some merchandising and that we can pay our bills. And they're really good at twisting people's arms. I mean, at getting people to donate. And because of that, that's where that $1 million comes from, through sponsorships, through people donating, and also people doing fundraising. That was in 2012. We launched that, and we've averaged more than $1 million a year. We just hit in 2024, we hit 14 million. So we're it's been really great. So from there, just continuing to grow the event, make the event happen. You mentioned early on that it was my first marathon, and I carry that feeling into every single thing we do, that I have a responsibility to serve, whether it's their first, like it was mine, or their 50th. We want it to be a runner's event, a runner's race, even though we love walkers too, an athlete's race, as opposed to for some other causes or whatever. We're not about trying to generate revenue. We want to be successful, and we're successful because we focus on the athletes to be able to generate the revenues to put the event on. But through myself, people like Star, other people on the team that have all run and walked marathons and half marathons, we really try to apply those lessons of what do we expect as an athlete? What do we want? What kind of food do we want? What kind of, how big do the mile markers need to be? What are all the little things that, how many restrooms, all that stuff that we focus on that. Our one of our board members has always been fond of saying that, and I liken this feeling as well. We're Columbus, Ohio. We're a great city, but we don't have mountains. We don't have beaches. We don't have Disney. What are we going to do to get people to come here? And that's by putting on a really high quality event. And we've been very, very blessed to do that through the efforts of a great team. Very few people have left the team over the years, and that's just because maybe they've moved away or otherwise changed their life. But
it's because he's a good leader.
Well,
I mean, he gave everyone a raise on day one. I mean, I'm
yeah.
working on that.
Yeah. But it's just, it's the other part that I think it works is it's our race. And I don't mean my race and Star's race and our board's race. It's our community's race. And that includes people from all over the country and other parts of the world. But when people come here, they feel that it is their event, their race to be part of. The partnership with the hospital is just is golden in regards to those relationships, because all races are just a bunch of self-absorbed runners and walkers. It's all a bunch of selfish people thinking about themselves. But now that we partner with the hospital, now that we've got kids out there at every mile, that we raise money for this wonderful community asset in the form of Nationwide Children's Hospital, all of a sudden our city, our citizens like the event. Our complaints for things people couldn't get to church, couldn't get to brunch, whatever it was, those have pretty much vanished, because it's kind of hard to get mad when you're helping little kids. And we'll ride that train all day long, So
what kind of person is going to complain?
I want to double contextualize that when he referred to all runners as being selfish, self-absorbed. That is, he's reflecting the opinion of the people who normally would be troubled by having all these obnoxious runners going through their neighborhood when they're trying to get brunch. Not what he actually thinks.
No, I don't feel that we're all selfish and self-absorbed. But my point is, but the citizenry, the non-runners, it was 50% loved us, 50% hated us. We were definitely politicians for sure. Now we really do have a lot of buy-in from the general citizenry, and they feel it's their community event. We're one of the hallmark events in the community, just like our big 4th of July celebration, or we have a large scale bicycle ride here, major fundraiser here in Columbus. All those events, we're considered one of those because people understand that it's not just a sporting activity, but it's something bigger than them.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. You're providing a huge impact to the community, and the community just responds with appreciation. And that sounds awesome. You mentioned that earlier, is something about the running community and the impact you've had on it and it's had on you. So it shows.
Yeah. But, you asked me about what it's like. It is a nerve-wracking, stress-filled job that I don't even comprehend the scale of, particularly race weekend. I can't go into the minutia in my brain, or else I will just panic, because it's so much. It is, everybody's job is difficult in the world. I don't care if you're sweeping streets, or you're putting on a marathon, or you're a lawyer, a doctor, whatever. Everybody's got stresses in their jobs. But it's hard to find a job that at 7:30 a.m. on the third Sunday of October, no matter what, 15,000 people are going to be showing up and ready to do something, and you have to be ready to go. Concerts happen and they delay them. Things happen all the time where, we're going to have to put that off by an hour, but we can't tell everybody because the clock is running. The city wants its streets back at a certain time. The volunteers are only so committed. They're not sticking around for an extra 4 or 5 hours because we weren't ready. So having all those pieces come together at one time is a pretty stressful endeavor. And thankfully, again, to the team, they all are so good at the pieces that they provide, that I'm just kind of able to work with them to make sure it all comes together. It's also, we're very blessed to have really great vendors. We don't own anything. We don't own fencing. We don't own barricades. We don't own the start and finish. We own very little, but we don't own 500 portable restrooms. So we've got to have companies that have to supply all this. But that means we've got to have relationships where they're dependable and they're there to serve us and won't let us down. And I think that's to the point of, Eric, you brought up about what I do throughout the year. A lot of it is just nurturing those relationships. Paying the bills on time and making them happy is one of the most important things I have to do each November, because after the race in October, because they have provided a service to us, and we want to keep them loyal to us. Same with the police officers. We have, our budget is between $150,000 and $200,000 just of police and traffic costs, and we pay those bills right away, because those are the people you don't want angry with you.
Right.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's just like anything, I have my lists, I have my things I do throughout the year and certain timelines, but I think most important part to me is just maintaining those relationships so we can then turn to those people when we need them. And we've needed them at some times when things have been going off the rails, but we knew we could count on them, and they've supported us.
So this is a full-time job for you.
So I was
40 hours a week, 12 months a year, 52 weeks a year. Like, so every day when you work. Oh no.
No. I'm gonna fill in context here. Things that I, as a spouse and a team member, see Darris going through and going through the things I see him go through. I think most people have heard the common refrain that the planning for the Macy's Day Parade starts the day after the parade. So when you want to think about, he's tough now. I mean, first of all, bill paying for an event of this size does take him close to a month. But then what you have to think about is, right, all of us who have done races, we get that post-race participant survey. So a good survey response is 20 to 25%. So an event our size, we send that to, you have 15,000 registered, you have your no-show rate, you get 13,000 finishers, you get 20 to 25% of that, you're a race that actually cares. It takes a few weeks to read 2,500 survey responses, especially when there's a narrative portion. And to get those sorted into what balls do we drop on the expo, comparing it year to year, like, wow, okay, there was a sudden spike in complaints about access to parking garages, or a spike in complaints about the shirts, or, or, oh, look, we improved on that because our approval weighting went up there. So that in and of itself is a few weeks. So now we're through November and December. Registration opens in January. The platform has to be updated. All that information has to be input, all those caps, working with that. So, it's just like he said, he has this master calendar, but shirts, this is insider information to a degree, but people don't realize that you can't order 15,000 shirts 6 weeks before the event. That's an order that has to be in by February 1st.
Yeah.
So
we're working on that now.
February
be ready
1st.
For
we don't have to know what the design is going to look like, but you got to know what color they're going to be, what the size breakdowns are going to be. So,
but Eric, so the question of working 40 hours a week throughout the year. No, there's times in January, February, March. It's a ramp up. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of work going on, but not so much that it's overwhelming. But we get into July, August, September, October. It's there's some nights. Some nights I
60-hour weeks.
So stressed out.
I was going to say for both of us. Yeah. For both of us, because I refer to my role, just registration coordinator, as not seasonal but cyclical, because there's an ebb and a flow. Like, it's very, very busy until February with getting registration launched. Then it calms down a little till spring, and then it's that ramp up. Last couple weeks of August, September, October, we're both easily working 60 to 70 hours a week.
Oh, wow.
We're working weekends. Yeah. So does it work out to 20, 24 in hours or whatever over the course of a year? Probably more than that. It's just how they're distributed.
Yeah, I don't know how it didn't happen in 2024, but I usually have the race director's diet, which basically, I've lost as much. One year I lost almost 20 pounds. The stresses were so great. This year I didn't. This year was a good year, this year meaning the past year. 2024 was I didn't suffer, but there was a couple, boy.
Tell them about the chips and the medals. Yeah, those are your two best stories.
2014 was definitely a 20-pounder. We're getting ready. Our bibs are being prepared, and they're down in South Carolina by a company that did the printing. And I'm getting nervous because we're getting ready to have them shipped to us. And I just happened to call the company and just made the comment, okay, chips are, you've got our address, you're ready to ship those. And the bibs, you're ready to send those.
Everything went okay with getting the chips on.
And everything went okay putting the chips on the bibs, right? And the guy says on the other end of the line, what chips? Uh-oh. We had sent the chips to them, and they never found them and unpacked them, and therefore never put them on.
Oh, no.
And couldn't find them.
We basically found them at the last minute. They shipped everything back to us. We installed them in 48 hours.
So you had
we were in the expo hall. And this was during, if you'll remember, the bell curve in the early and mid-teen years when every race was sold out. It was standing room only, you know. And so we were in the expo hall the Friday morning that the expo opened, finishing up. I mean, it was friends, it was family, it was strangers, it was like
you had all hands on deck. Oh my gosh.
But I don't have time to worry about that, because I'm more concerned that our chips or our medals aren't here. There was a strike in.
It was the typhoon.
There was a typhoon and a port strike out on the West Coast, and our medals were coming from China at the time, and basically, we're told they're not coming. We're not going to get them. they're locked in some container and they can't. We're looking at, we have 3 pallets of medals, and we're behind ships of Nike gear and Apple and Samsung, stereos and TVs and all that. Star and some other teammates behind my back basically tracked down, got them out of customs, got them shipped. They found a guy who drove across the country in an unmarked white van.
Alan Lamb.
Thank God for Alan Lamb. He made it across the country. We're talking like an unimaginable amount of time he got here. He shows up at the back entrance to our start finish area. The race has started. The chip or the medals pull up. This guy screeches to a halt. Well, the FBI, remember, this is a year after Boston.
Oh my God.
Homeland Security and the FBI swarm this guy's unmarked white van. He doesn't know what's going on. The bomb sniffing dogs.
The dogs are like jumping
into the van. The van is a mess. The medals have just been strewn everywhere. I swear, I can't believe he didn't flip over this van in like Kansas or something. We missed the first 30 minutes of finishers, didn't get a medal, but they got them because we made announcements to please go to the information tent. We knew who they were. The first 30 wasn't a huge number. First 30 minutes of the half marathon. But yeah, so we had a total of 10 things went wrong that year of just weird, crazy things, but we got through it.
So Alan Lamb had left at like 2:00 in the morning Pacific time from the port of Long Beach and took the whole route from California to Arizona to, I can't remember it now, and I'm not great with geography. We were certain, and we were tracking him like NORAD tracking Santa. We were sure he was going to be there in time for the race. But what we forgot about was Indiana does not do daylight savings time. So we actually had the time zones wrong, and it scooched us by an hour. But nevertheless.
But they saved me. They didn't tell me. They knew I had just given up on it. I was just prepared. And
I think we told you once they were in Arizona. I think he was on the road and they were out of California. And we said, Darris, there's an unmarked white van somewhere in Arizona. The medals are in it.
We actually ended up winning a crisis communication award from our local communications organization.
Get out of here.
Yeah, because we were prepared on how we prepared and how we addressed it. And we basically fessed up to people right away, said, look, this might not happen. We accepted that this was a situation. But to the point of being prepared long term, we immediately switched to a company up in Massachusetts that makes our medals. And we will never, Ashworth Awards, we will never, ever import them. Having the lack of control of something like that is never going to happen, at least on my watch.
Stress levels must have been out of control. Like that is just such a wild story.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yes.
So
I want to share. I Google mapped this for you. 34 hours, Long Beach, California to Columbus, Ohio. 34 hours, 2,254 miles in an unmarked white van. Alan is the man.
Alan is
the man.
Yeah, that was 10 years ago, and we still talk about it. He should win a
Spirit Award, actually.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So we're all things aside, I feel with wonderful people by my side, a wonderful team. I just feel blessed that the race that was important to me is my brother's first. I can still be the caretaker of it while I'm doing this and continuing to work hard to make it great.
I think too, awesome. the coda I want to put on that for him is the biggest stress that he carries on his shoulders, unfortunately, is the one that he has zero control over. And we are both people of deep faith, but whether you are a person of faith or not, you have never heard prayers more fervent than ours each year. Get everybody home safe.
Yeah.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Yeah. That is, and for Darris, who is the kindest, most gentlest, most generous person that I have ever known. carrying that weight on his shoulders and having it be something that is truly out of his control. We can have a great medical staff. We can have amazing security forces. Every variable that he can control through his team, he has controlled. But that is the deepest prayer and wish every year. Anything else can go wrong. Forget medals, forget shirts, forget who doesn't like string cheese at the finish line. If everybody gets home alive, that's a win.
Yeah, I've had to visit too many people in the hospital, and it's not fun. And everybody's gone home, but it's that, again, to Star's point, it's not my fault. I can't control it, but yet it's a burden that I carry because we initiated the event. So therefore, if someone has a health issue that's unrelated to our control, it's in their family tree. It had nothing to do with us. I still feel responsible because we provided the venue for that episode to happen.
Absolutely.
And thankfully, everybody's continued to go home every year.
Let's keep that up.
Just the level of care that I can sense from you two, it is off the charts. And I really hope that I can make it out one day to run at least the half marathon. I would run the full marathon, but you guys are just amazing, and just keep doing what you're doing. You and your team, just the level of planning it takes, it's oh my gosh,
it's insane. That's why I love talking to you guys about this.
I mean, it's fascinating to find out all the behind the scenes stuff that, like, it's easy to go run a race, but just knowing what goes on in the background, it's just, there are so many moving elements, and like you said, a lot of stuff that you can't control, but you're going to try to control the stuff that you can, and hopefully everything goes well. So
it's crazy because there's things going on that we don't even know about. The police, Homeland Security, FBI, things like that. They there's things they don't even share, and I don't want to know. We are fine to relinquish control to them at any point in time because, look, I'm never going to say we know what. I'm never going to tell them, well, I don't think we should do that. No, that's the last thing you want to be, is known for not being safe and secure. So we have a great, they get. Many times the law enforcement and safety forces don't get the appreciation, but boy, they do us, treat us so well and care so much about us. But I think, again, I'm not saying I'm better than anybody else, but I would put myself up against anybody when it comes to nurturing those relationships and making sure those people know that I respect them, and I'm not about to tell them what to do. I want to respectfully ask what they feel we should do.
Yes. And man, I forgot that you guys have such a large race that you need Homeland Security and like the FBI and just to keep that number of people safe.
Yeah. And then there's fun stuff too. When you like geeking out about it, and listeners like geeking out about it. I mean, so here's some math, and it's why not all Darris has input on this, and we all have our areas, but here's why it's so important that there are so many amazing people on this team. If you're going to have 13,000 participants on your course, how many cups do you need at each aid station?
Oh my God. More than that, because people drop them and like they take more than one. And oh my gosh, what is the math behind
What's
that?
the answer? Is there like a ratio?
If you want to make sure that everyone is off your starting line within half an hour, what size should your corrals be, and what should the time between releasing each corral be? How long is it going to take X number of people to get across the finish line? I mean, this is kind of some of the stuff that I think it's so easy not to think about. We want more bands. We want more entertainment. How are you finding that?
Yeah, we have more than between 60 and 70 entertainers. We have to have someone whose job is just to recruit those people and then coordinate with them. And then, it's again, it's fun. And I think part of it is the most of the people on the team, it's not their job. It's their avocation. And because of that, is that the right word? Avocation,
it is.
Meaning the fun.
Vocation.
Okay, it's not their career, but yet they can kind of shine. I'll give you a quick example. We have someone who does all of our maps and all of our drawings and all of our floor plans for the expo. He's an architect by trade. He's a design. He designs restaurants, things like that. he loves this stuff. For him to do drawings and things like that, this is just like, this is his fun. This is his Vanderlei de Lima 50 miler. He loves it. So you use people's skills and talents that way.
We got to give Rose a shout out. I mean, Rose is very much an unsung hero.
Yeah, we have someone who's the title is environmental manager. We know she does. She's in charge of trash.
How many trash cans do you need for 13,000 people's trash at the finish line?
Yeah. And then you have to get it picked up, and we have to get the city's trash truck there on time to make sure that we're loading those out on a couple runs, because we're piling up trash, and we have recycling, and we've got all those other pieces that so it's but yet when you give people that are talented and intelligent room to do things, they're going to take care of it, and you appreciate them, and you thank them, and you recognize them, but let them go, let them run with it, and if there's issues, I can get involved, or we can work together as a team. But really, I'm just, again, so thankful for everybody that's involved.
And I want to, on that note, I want to give my my running public service announcement to everyone on the pod. When you are running a trail race, I think we all know the rule is leave no trace. When you are
That's one of my favorite Code Brown commandments. Yep.
When you are running a road marathon, it is perfectly acceptable within a water stop or aid station zone to throw your cups and your throwaway clothes and your gel and candy wrappers and your trash on the ground. Outside of an actual aid station or water stop, it is actually not okay. And I want to remind everyone to learn how to carry that gel wrapper with them. Something that I do on trail races to make sure this doesn't happen is I pin a Ziploc baggie to my shorts and I just pop all my sticky stuff in there until I get to each aid station. The Monday after the race is one of my favorite days, actually, because one of my dearest girlfriends who's on the team, she does all our PR. She and I have an 8 a.m. date every Monday morning. And what we do is we drive the course and we go into everyone's yards and we pick up the hand warmers and the throwaway gloves and the gel packets. And I have a great reel actually on my Insta account of like peeling up the gel packets, because what a lot of people don't realize is street sweepers don't get those up. They actually glue them to the ground with their feet, and you have to peel them up off the road. And so that is our commitment to the communities and the neighborhoods that we get to play in. They have to live there and they have to work there. And so we have to return that to them the same way it looked before our race. But my encouragement is, if it is at all possible, to carry your stuff with you until you get to an actual aid station where there are people there who are going to clean it up. That would be so wonderful, because I've seen some really trashed residential neighborhoods, and that just makes it harder for your races to come back each year.
That
you want to run in the prettiest neighborhoods, but when you trash the prettiest neighborhoods, they don't want you there.
Totally understandable. And I don't think that's asking a lot. It really isn't. Just stuff it in your pocket, or I don't know, hold it in your hand. I feel like at a race like yours, you get an aid station every like mile, 2 miles max, right? That's not that difficult.
No.
I think a lot of it is education. I think a lot of it is just knowing.
Some etiquette too.
So actually, that I have a question about every mile. You have a tent at every mile? Tell me about this tent you have at every mile.
So we have 17. So we have 17 fluid stations, which is Gatorade and water. But then we do have a patient from the hospital at every mile. Now it's not exactly at the mile marker. It's kind of they all are designated an ambassador, a champion per mile. They may not be exactly at the mile marker. It's where they can be placed, maybe in a parking lot or whatever. But yeah, so it's unique that we have 24 kids. One in each mile of the marathon. 24, you say. Well, mile 10 is known as the alumni mile. We bring back kids from previous years. So now we're up to, what are we up to? 240 kids or something. Some of these kids are now adults. I mean, some of them probably have families for all I know. I mean, our first patient champion back in 2012, she's now a 23-year-old kindergarten teacher. That's like so cool, So
Yeah.
if a kid in 2013 or 14 was 16 or 17 years old, they're almost 30 now, which is wonderful. And they come back and they celebrate. And then mile 11, it's called the Angel Mile. It is a mile
this is the one that we've heard so much about from Patrick, and it makes me want to cry every time.
I cry every time. It's it honors the kids that have passed away, and it was not our idea or intention. In year one, we didn't have it. We basically were trying to get all 26 miles covered by kids. The families that had lost children, there's support groups and things like that. They basically came to us and asked if they could have a mile to honor their kids. So every year there's different families. Some of the same families are out there every year honoring their children. And it is, you'd think it's a morose, sad area, but it's not. The families are partying, celebrating. They're honored to be able to recognize their children. At the same time, the runners and walkers, they're all crying because it is emotional. It's also mile 11 of a half marathon. And so people are crying because they're almost, it's a mess, but it's a good mess.
The music played there. Was this year the music with the heartbeats again, or was that?
No, that was one year that they had one.
So they have this program at the hospital where when a family knows that their child's condition is terminal, there's a music program that's able to record their child's heartbeat, and then they incorporate it into a piece of music.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, pretty. So, but again, again, I mean, it's not unlike the Marine Corps Mile that honors the military that have been lost, but. And that's a pretty sad mile, but it's also a celebration mile too. It's again, it's kind of how you look at it. Certainly you're sad about these children, you're sad about the military that have passed, but you can also honor them by accomplishing this goal, succeeding in this. And so it's
what better motivation?
Yeah. When you made your pitch to Nationwide Children's Hospital and you got them on board, how did you come up with this concept of having the patients there and having these tents and having the alumni tent and everything?
It is.
And how did you sell that to them?
It was a joint. I remember the meetings. It was between Marathon board members, myself, hospital officials, and Nationwide Insurance. Nationwide Insurance had come to us and said, we want to continue supporting this race. They've been involved since the very beginning, since the race was started in 1980. And again, huge major employer here in the community, well known throughout the corporate world. And they said, we want to keep supporting you, but we want to see, is there a way we can tie in the hospital? And so it kind of just naturally went from there. And it was really it wasn't a strategy that we knew right away. It kind of evolved. That first year, as we were planning, I think it sort of just, hey, what if we had kids out there on the mile? I don't know. Let's try it. It wasn't really, I want to say it was thought out. I think we got lucky. It was one of those, they knew how to do it. We also had some situations. I had a couple of kids that were a little bit, that probably shouldn't have been out there.
The ventilator.
We had one on a ventilator that thank God it kept running. You learn when you're doing it, and everybody's fine.
It's just an issue with the generator. We had to rush a generator over.
We got everybody's fine. Everybody, the kid was happy.
That's a code red.
No issues there. But long story short, it really just evolved from a great start with good minds. It had been thought through, how can we do this? But it also, we didn't know until we tried it, how it would go. And knock on wood, it's been very fruitful relationship. I mean, that's
amazing.
Yeah.
Do you have something, Erika? Before I ask my next.
It's such a special element of a very special race that you guys put on. And I really, if I've heard anything from Patrick, who has run it several times, he says it is a race to run. So I would love to do it someday.
Now, let's be clear. He only runs the half. He doesn't do the
Still.
full.
Gosh, poor
I
Patrick.
think we need to put
We
some
love
pressure on
Patrick.
Patrick to run
Oh,
the
boy.
full Columbus Marathon.
If
Okay,
Patrick runs the full,
Patrick.
I'll come out.
Oh, wait.
still come
Okay.
out.
I hear. Does the pod family hear this? I believe a wager has been placed. Patrick, if you run the full, Erika is coming out.
I will find a way
You
to
heard
get out
it-
there
you
too,
heard
and
it
we'll
here
live
first.
podcast from like the
If
expo.
not, I am more than happy
Well-
to support his fundraising efforts.
Well, and again, I mean, clearly, if you
Live
guys were to
pod.
come out, I would get you. You'd get the,
We'll
you'd
take
get
care
the
of ya.
whole behind the scenes. You'd be up on stage.
Yeah.
You get to see all
Oh,
the.
good.
You get to see it all happen.
Live pod from the viewing deck and the timing tent.
Eric.
I'm adding this. I'm adding this.
I think we gotta go. I think we gotta
Yeah.
go.
Let's see McGilver do that for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, 25 or 26. 2025 or 2026. I say lock it in. We got a couple plans for 25 this year,
I
but
feel
you know
like
what?
it's gonna have to be 26 because Patrick's gonna need time to train for the full.
Oh yeah, Patrick needs some
I
time.
think a year is plenty, but
Good.
yeah.
We'll see.
Okay.
Let me
So
ask a
gauntlet
question.
thrown. Yeah.
Oh,
Sorry,
it's
what
no
was that?
gauntlet. We love Patrick.
I said gauntlet thrown.
Oh, man.
We'll see. I don't know. I feel bad giving Patrick crap because
I don't.
He's always so nice to us.
I don't.
Well, he's nice
It's
to
a
me.
sign
then,
that
so
I love you,
Eric
though.
will give him crap.
If I give crap, I love you. I like you. If I don't kind of do the back and forth, it's like, I love Patrick. Patrick was a huge hit for us, honestly. Like the connections the guy has helped us make since he came to me. He was one of the first two people, because they both happened on the same day, and I forget who was first, who approached me about coming on the podcast. And I was like, yes, finally people are coming to us. And that leads me to my next question. But Darris, so a thing I've learned in 2 years of podcasting now is, I study other podcasts. I support other podcasts. I reach out. I talk to other podcasters. You met Erika at another marathon. I don't even know if you were running. I know it was Ohio, so it was kind of local, but you were out there handing out, I think, like Columbus, Ohio marathon koozies or something, or like hats or shirts.
I have your pad of paper on my fridge right now. You guys are like, here we go. And I use it all the time.
So
Do you guys like support each other? Do you bounce ideas, you and other race directors or other marathon teams?
Well, I want to go one step further. We actually,
Oh no.
I don't feel guilty about this at all, but we go to other races and people invariably say, and I'm not ashamed to say this, I like your race better. I'll be in someone else's house, their expo, and someone will say, I like your race better.
You know
Yours
you're
is
doing
my-
something right if people are
yours is
telling
my
you
favorite.
in somebody else's race or expo
And I'm
that
proud
they
of
like
that.
you better.
And so
You
I
should
took
be.
it one step further. And I'm just a goofy kid from Akron. I was a kid from Akron long before LeBron James was. Okay. And I do silly things to recognize people's support. So I would go to expos, and if I saw someone in one of our race shirts, I would hunt them down and give them $1. I said, I'm the race director of Columbus. Thank you for wearing our shirt. Here's $1. I did this at the Olympic trials in Atlanta. In Orlando, I'm sorry. And this woman was wearing our shirt, and I went to give her $1, and Star's like, you can't just go give random women on the street $1. But it worked because she was wearing our shirt and she appreciated it. But so this past year, in 2024, last year,
She was giving you a weird look. I'm just gonna
we went
say.
to the Flying Pig Marathon, and we had these mugs made that said, basically, it was a coffee mug that said, I wore my race shirt, and it had a little picture of a shirt since 1980, had our logo. And I was basically giving these mugs to people at other races. I'm in their house giving away things to promote our event. And, it's all in good fun. So to your question, do we associate and bounce ideas? Absolutely. I mean, Iris Bush at the Flying Pig Marathon, very, very good friend.
Mm-hmm.
She's the race director there, to the point where, God, another story.
Here we go.
I was at their
Keep them
expo.
coming.
I love you,
year
Star.
before I
Every
met
time
Erika.
Star's like, oh boy.
It's the year before I met Erika, and I'm at the expo on Friday. Star's coming into town that night, and I kind of tend to lean like I'm doing here. And I was having some tightness in my chest. So I go into the bathroom, roll up my shirt, point at my chest, and snap a picture of my bare chest. I text it to my friend who's a doctor. He used to be our medical director. And I said, hey, I'm having some tightness right here in my chest. What do you think that is? He said, you need to go to the emergency room right away.
No.
And I'm like, I can't go to the emergency room. I'm in Cincinnati. I can't drive all the way to Columbus. He said, no, you need to go to the hospital there now. You know, I'm like, it's the expo. What am I going to do? So I go and look for Iris, the race director. She's in the middle of a media interview. She's getting ready to do this interview. They're like, we're on in 2. And I said, hey, Iris. She goes, what's going on? I said, is there a hospital nearby that specializes in heart care? She's like, I can't do the interview. She puts me in her Jeep, drives me to the nearest hospital, which happens to be the same hospital where her husband had his heart issues taken care of in downtown Cincinnati, and drops me off. And I said, see you later. And I'm in this hospital, this heart hospital, Christ Hospital in downtown Cincinnati. I call Star, said, I don't want you to be alarmed. But
Meanwhile, now what he's really telling laughingly is one of the most traumatic stories of my life. Getting a phone call from your husband who's an hour and a half away. Don't be alarmed, but I had this pain in my chest. Darren said I had to go to the hospital right away. And what's going through my mind, which I confirmed with Darren later, is Widowmaker.
Oh,
We've
God.
us. And he's like, oh, yeah, I was thinking Widowmaker. I have no idea what was in the suitcase I packed. I don't really think So
but my whole point was we're all very close, and she was super close to me. And that was even more important to me. But when they've had issues, they've bounced ideas off of us, vice versa.
The registration coordinators also have very collegial relationships. Yeah. We talk back and forth as policies evolve on refunds, deferrals, pregnancy deferral, asking each other, what are you guys actually doing? Because participants are quick to say, oh, well, this race will let me do this. And a lot of times we just say, what are you really doing?
And I did a marathon recently, and I was very impressed with one aspect of their traffic control. They had this street shut down that I couldn't imagine how they were able to close it and keep it so locked down with, we're talking 7 miles of barricades and volunteers and police. I mean, it was, we've had to do this, but not a 7-mile straight stretch. And yet they were still able to get people apartments and people traffic. And so I reached out to the race, and I'm going to have a conversation with them to just say, hey, how did you do that? So the industry, people, while certainly it's competitive, it's also very collegial, to Star's point. We want people to, number one, we want to put on the best events, but we also want to help people. And I've fielded many calls from races that I've talked to about how they did this or that or the other thing. And races open up their, they'll open up their offices. I've met with many race directors and teams just to learn about what they're doing and vice versa.
I love that. I never really thought about it being more of a kind of team effort. I mean, you have your own team, but everybody else you can just bounce ideas off of, because somebody would have, if somebody has something down that you're a little like, oh, I'm not exactly sure, something isn't working for us. What do you do? Just the fact that they're very open to share that with you. I mean, it's making the sport better.
There's a trade association, Running USA, things like that. Again, the whole point of those, they gather people, they have workshops and things like that. But I really feel the best way for me to learn is to go to other races and see what went right, what went wrong, and then try to learn.
Excellent.
Yeah, I think it's best when you kind of like all support everybody and each other, and you succeed better that way. And I found that with what we're doing here.
Yeah.
It did have
Before we
no.
glaze over this, I'm glad you're okay, Darris.
Yeah,
That must have been so scary.
That's
we
true.
just glazed over that, so glad everything worked
Couple
out.
years ago now, yeah. No, everything was great.
Still
The other thing I wanted to say was I love your little $1 thing you do. You give $1, but I'm gonna one up you here. I'm going to do this for someone who I see wearing like an On the Run shirt or whatever, and I'm going to give them a $2 bill.
Okay.
Nice.
I got to go to the bank now and get a bunch of $2 bills.
I remember that you had those mugs, and the one time Patrick did not wear your race t-shirt,
That's right.
so he did not earn that mug, at least that day. But has he earned it since? Have you seen him wearing your Columbus race shirt at
I've
any other
seen it,
event?
but I don't know if I had the mug because I would figure he was trying to, he knows the game. I've even taken them out in my local community. I'll go out for a run and I carry one with me, and then I'll stop someone on our local bike path. Freaks them out. They're like, "What are you doing?" And we were at the airport, I don't know, 3 or 4 months ago, and I happen to have one in my suitcase. Star's like, "There's a guy with his shirt." So I opened my suitcase at baggage claim, digging this mug out, hunted this guy down. He was very happy.
That's awesome.
Just silliness, but it's recognizing. We actually learned it from Cliff Bar. Cliff Bar had this really cool thing. They gave us gift cards to pass out to people randomly. They called it the surprise and delight moments. And it was really, really well received. It's just a grassroots effort. You go up to somebody and give them $100 gift card to a running something or whatever. They're like,
how are you not excited about that?
Exactly.
Who wouldn't be?
Yeah. So there's no new ideas. You just borrow and steal from others that good ideas and make them your own.
Still really fun.
Yeah. So $2 bills, that works out really nicely because it references, number 2 and you're on the Runs podcast.
Oh, so. Yes. Yes. But bump. And you have a disturbing code brown, I was told. In fact, I think you told Erika and she was like, stop and save it for the pod.
So I don't know if you recall when we met at Flying Pig.
I do.
Yeah, you were telling me that you had a story. I think it involved the LA Marathon at one point.
It does.
So I know I am very intrigued as to what this story entails, and also I think Patrick is on the edge of his seat waiting to hear it also.
It's an awful story.
Patrick has actually turned the podcast off because he's afraid of having to run for a marathon.
Oh my God, that's true. That's true. Well, I am now going to have the pod family gather around and imagine that there is a campfire and delicious snacks, and we'll get started. So many, many years ago, I don't remember the year, but the temperatures at the LA Marathon were going to be getting into the 80s. And so he's already terrified.
Shaking his head already. Oh no, we're in for it. Buckle up.
We got an email on the Saturday, and it was not early in the morning. It was kind of mid-afternoon. Got an email that they were moving the start time up an hour or back. I don't know. Either.
Can I just add? I'll add very quickly. It was 2015, and the reason I know this, I just deleted from my computer emails that I had saved for years and years and years. And that I saved that email because it was such a terrible messaging. It was almost a message to myself. Don't ever do this. They let us know, that they were moving the whole thing back. But
okay. So in 2015, they announced that they were going to be starting an hour early because of the temperatures. What I'm trying to convey with this story is what they did not do was adjust the time of the shuttles that get you from the hotels to the start. So we ended up, and we were pacing this event. So we ended up getting to the start line probably only with 30 minutes to go. And it erased the size of LA. Back then, we're talking 30,000 people. And we've got pace leaders that we have to get into crowded corrals. Okay. We're supposed to be there a minimum of half an hour ahead of time so that runners can find us. So we've got this really truncated space. And we've really got to use the bathrooms ourselves because as pace leaders, you're running slow enough that if you have to pull off the course, you can and catch back up to your group. And no one really likes that, yada, yada.
Yeah.
So it's dark and we're in a hurry. And I go into a porta potty and I take care of all the business I need to take care of. I had a good strong cup of coffee, get out of the porta potty, and I'm grabbing my sign and my balloons, and I'm walking towards my corral, and I'm like, why does the back of my shirt feel wet?
Uh-oh.
And so I take my singlet and I pull it around, and there's poop on it.
No.
And a couple of things are happening in quick succession in my mind. I'm like, okay, number one, this isn't long enough that I pooped on it. Like, it doesn't hang down and so I fling the door of the porta potty open enough to see into it. And someone had taken what I guess would famously be called an upper decker.
Oh, no. So they did it on purpose.
So what had happened was there was this huge freaking pile of crap on the back of the seat that my singlet had dipped itself in. No. Okay. So I rip my singlet off. I say, skinny girl body issues be damned. I'm running in a sports bra and shorts. Nothing else to do. I feel fine. I start walking to the corral.
Oh, my God.
Why does the back of my shorts feel wet?
No.
So my singlet had apparently gotten a big scoop of the upper decker on it, and it had also transferred to the top of the back of my shorts.
Oh, no.
So now I'm thinking of a number of things. Number one, I'm having a nightmare. Number two, there is poop all over my shorts and I can smell it. Number three, this is not my poop. Number four, it is going to be like 80 degrees today, and I am going to be sweating a lot, and someone else's is going to be sweating down into, like, I'm trying to process all of this, and I am stuck. I don't have shorts in my drop bag.
You don't have a drop bag. You're going to the race.
Where am I going to get shorts? I don't have money. What? So, like, I'm white. My eyes are just blank. I make it to my corral, and this woman just looks at me and she's like, honey, you don't look, what's going on? And I point at my shorts and I go, but poop, it's poop, it's not mine.
Remember, we're at a race start. YMCA is playing, non-celebration. All this stuff is going on.
Bad, you guys, it's so bad. So gosh, God bless this woman, bless every woman who is a mother, because they all look around. She's like, I'm a mom. We've got this. Someone gives me a foil blanket. They tie it around my waist. They have me take off my shorts. Someone has the water that they're sipping on before the race. They put my shorts over this stanchion. They're pouring water on them. They're like scrubbing this poop out as best they can with this water. I'm standing there butt naked under this foil blanket, like, do your thing. So these amazing women truly do their best. They hand me back these shorts. There's still a poop stain on them.
Oh, no.
Actually, it's kind of spread. I mean, they meant well.
Just wet, too.
Now it's bigger. And I should mention, I forgot this part.
Uh-oh.
For some godforsaken reason, and I believe in God, for some godforsaken reason, our uniform sponsor that year decided that the women should wear pink. And it was a light pink. So these were light pink shorts. These were not black shorts. These were light pink shorts. And you could see the entire outline of the poop stain, which had gotten bigger because it had spread with the water, but there was less. So like, well, that's the best we can do, but they're probably going to dry during the race. And I'm like, and then they're going to get wet with the sweat, and there's still someone else's shit all over my
meanwhile, the clock is ticking down, and we're about ready to start this year's LA Marathon.
So then someone like fashions this thing out of like pieces of a plastic drop bag that's kind of a shield, and they kind of slip it between my lower back and my shorts so I can run with it like as this little butt shield. But I can already feel myself sweating, and I know it's going to chafe me within an inch of my life. So the gun goes off, and I'm running in these.
I love LA. That's the song they start the race with.
I am running in these poop-stained, smelly butt shorts. out of Dodger Stadium, and I'm still like having this out of body experience because I'm so mortified and so disgusted, and like I don't know how I'm going to do this job that I've been given to do today.
Yep.
And then I have this brainwave, and I remember that right past mile 1, there's a CVS, and I'm like, they're going to have baby wipes. I can get baby wipes, and I can actually so the manager and some employee are actually standing outside the CVS cheering, and we run, and I like give someone else in my group the balloons, and I'm like, I swear I'm going to be back. I just have to get some baby wipes. And I go over and I'm like, okay, I have no money, but there's this poop on my shorts and it's not mine, and I need baby wipes. And he's like, it's fine. Come with me. And so we go in the store, and he gives me a pack of baby wipes, and I'm turning around to run back out of the store. And he's like, wait, ma'am, do you want to use the bathroom? And I was like, oh my gosh, yes, please. And remember that I'm doing all of this like on fast forward because I need to catch up to my group, which is trying to hold pace without me. So I go sprinting into the bathroom, and I get into a stall, and I'm using these baby wipes, and I'm so excited, and I'm scrubbing my shorts with baby wipes. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm in a bathroom. There's a sink. There's soap. I can just wash my shorts. They're going to be wet, but I don't care. I can just, so I go out of the stall, I whip my shorts off, I throw them in the sink, I've got hand soap, I'm like singing. I am so happy. Like, this is the most fun I have ever had. And right then, as I'm standing at the sink wearing nothing but
oh my God,
a visor, a
you're in the
sports
men's
bra,
room,
and my running shoes, I literally am pantsless.
oh my God.
And these 2 women walk in.
Okay.
And there I stand, naked, shorts in the sink. And this woman looks at me and she goes, sweetheart, if it was that time of the month, why did you wear pink?
They're frozen. It's like the moment she froze, like her face right now. These 2 women walk in.
This story is like, I am cringing just from... Like,
I swear to God, she was going to
imagine.
say, like, the door opens and it's a guy, and she accidentally walked in the guy's room with no pants.
Oh, no, but we lost him. Wait.
There she is.
Okay.
Are you back? Oh,
wait, no.
oh, no. It just was the last bit. They'll come back on. Oh, my God. Wow.
I can't even handle that. That is like Yuki's story, like 10
Yeah.
times worse.
Where did I
Yuki
where
just
did
has
we
the
lose
dangly
this?
thing from her
Our internet
wristlets,
went
but
down.
oh my God.
Did you hear that I caught my group around mile 4, and that was
No, okay.
We missed it right when the 2 ladies walked into your
Yeah.
to the bathroom.
And I thought it was going to be like a guy like you realize you're accidentally in the men's room or something, but
No.
you froze at the right time. You go,
Okay, yeah.
the door opens.
Yeah, so the door opens and these 2 ladies walk in, and the one takes in what she sees, and she looks at me, she says, honey, if it was that time of the month, why did you wear pink?
That is the least of my worries.
And I don't know, I rang out my shorts, I threw them back on. Me and my wet shorts caught my group by mile 4, and I had a lovely race.
Oh my God, that is one of our top Code Brown stories of all time.
Oh no! Oh no!
I feel bad if there's one that's worse.
Oh my God!
We were just kind of remembering some of the Code Brown stories we've had, and we had wonderful Yuki on for one of our Boston episodes, and she had a terrible experience with a porta potty as well, where somebody had explosive diarrhea, and she was wearing this beautiful unicorn costume with these dangly wristlets that happened to get destroyed from all of the mess in the porta potty. So
the best part of the story was
like yours is worse. Oh,
just to give you a little more context on the Yuki story, these wristlets were new, and she tested them out. In 60 Minutes, like New Hampshire had a conversation with her, and they talked about it, and they're waiting for her at the finish line. No. And they're like, what happened to the wristlets?
There was no salvaging them. They fell off. I forget what she actually said, but
she actually just said she had a wardrobe malfunction.
Oh my God.
And when she told us the story, No one ever knew the story besides her husband, so we called it an OTR exclusive. But yeah, your story had reminded us about that when you froze. We're like, oh my God, this is just like Yuki, the explosive diarrhea in the porta potty.
Star
Unbelievable.
actually has another one too. We were at the St. George Marathon.
Oh goodness!
No.
And she was at mile 2. She was in charge of transportation at St. George. You get a ride to the start line, then at the finish line you get in your car. Well, we'd have to go to the airport. Sometimes we'd have to drive all the way back to Vegas to get everybody on a plane to go home. Well, Star was pacing, and she had this pink jacket. Pink is the problem here.
Oh no more pink for you.
Star at mile 2 runs off into the desert because that's all you can do at St. George. There's portables from time to time, but you just go behind some scrub brush. Well, Star goes, does her business, takes off the jacket, uses it because she doesn't have anything else, joins up with her group, gets back to the finish line, does her job, gets back to the done. One of the other pacers says, all right, we got to get going. We got to get to the airport. Where's the keys? Star says, my jacket at mile 2. Well, we're talking the desert. So basically, somebody drove the other rental car because the keys aren't available. All the way up to mile 2 in the desert. Thank God the jacket was pink because they spotted it behind some scrub brush. Got the keys, got back, got everybody there.
Yeah, no one else would touch the jacket. They were like, that's your job. But no, and then we actually had a few years back, I was able to be a great service to someone. It was actually but one of our elites had a really rough race, and as she was finishing, her stomach turned on her, and it's a good friend of mine here in Columbus. But not only, since we were post-pandemic, immediately post-pandemic, I had like 17 packs of wet wipes and Purell wipes in my bag. But I also happened to I had never had time to change into my pajamas the night before because I was so busy working, and I had cute little shorts that were perfectly clean. And so I was able to get her into clean shorts, and
You're such a good friend.
That worked out really well. It's good.
It's funny, the marathon thing, the biggest issue is the restrooms.
Oh my God.
We have 500 of those that we have at the Columbus Marathon between a start, finish, and out on the course.
Wow.
It is always a major issue. As pacing, I was talking earlier about stories. I wanted to have a book one day called Pee on the Downhills. Because I learned as a pacer, if you stop at the bottom of a hill to go to the bathroom, to even into a portable, catching up to your group on an uphill is terrible. So you always want to make sure that you just wait for a downhill. It's much easier to catch your group. So.
And
that's really smart.
The porta potty thing is so hard, especially when, one thing that Darris and I always do is we look at this event, and when we fill out surveys, we look at events from the perspective of being both participant and organizer. I also do operations and logistics work for our local Race for the Cure. So I deal with a lot of that same math, like this many participants, this many porta potties. It's like we have been in those lines, and we know what it feels like when there's a clock ticking and you're in that line and someone has decided to change their clothes and do a full face of makeup before they get out. I'm talking about the people who just are in there and in there and in there and in there.
Yep.
And we know what that feels like. And at the same time, from a budget and a space perspective, we're never going to be able to have a ratio of 3-to-1 for porta potties. I mean, it's just not feasible. So how do you find this fine line of like, we know that lines suck. And also, if you're going to a large event,
you're going to wait in a line.
There's going to be a line, so what's acceptable? And it's hard. And sometimes you get it right, and sometimes you get it wrong. And sometimes other races get it right, and sometimes they get it wrong. So that's a sticky wicket. No pun intended.
How many cups, by the way, at the aid station? How many cups?
Total, I think our total that we go through, I think are, I'm going to say it's between 100 and 150,000 water cups and also the same number of Gatorade cups.
Jeez.
And
it makes total sense, but the numbers are staggering.
The calculations, we have more in the first half. Clearly, the marathon and half marathon share the same course for the first 12 miles, and then we have calculations for the second half. And it's that itself. We actually prepare those aid stations in September, so about a month before the race. Then we have a logistics company, that loads them onto a 53-foot trailer and delivers them to the aid stations that morning. They're driving around the city of Columbus, so the volunteer captains can show up and this plastic wrapped pallet is ready to go, and they just unload it and go to town.
Amazing.
But that's something that's happening on a Saturday in September. We've got about 10 of our team members, and everything from Gatorade jugs, something called slip sheets. Those are those cardboard things that allow us to layer the cups
yes.
on top of each other. How many slip sheets, how many trash bags, how many mixing sticks, how much Gatorade concentrate, how many Gatorade jugs, how many trash bags, how many rakes, how many...
all that
all of that's getting built, and we have a lot of fun wrapping pallets.
God, it's so cool. It's so cool to hear those behind the scenes stories about like everything that goes into a race, and that you're planning these things 12 months a year. You'd be planning them 14 months a year if there were for that many. Like, it's just so cool to hear these stories. I'm sure there's so much more we're missing that we could ask to get into it. Like just the ratios blow me away with the cups, and probably the porta potties too. Like, you have, what is it, Erika? One porta potty per 30 people when you did your race?
I think like it's really supposed to be like one for every 100 or something, but then the lines are ridiculous. So you want to do like one for every 50, but even then, like, it's ridiculous.
I think we're one to every 30 if you do the math. I mean,
yeah. That's how you try to eliminate some of the lines, but it just doesn't help. Yes, exactly. People are just gonna sit in there no matter what. So, gotta try to get the race day number 2 out.
We'll talk about it the next time you have us on, if that ever happens.
That's what I was getting to next.
Well, I just want to say, we'll talk about Badwater in that next episode.
I want to hear about that. I want to hear about javelina. Oh, there's so many things I want to hear about.
I did 42 gels.
Oh gosh.
In 40 hours.
Oh my God.
And I never once used a bathroom.
Wow.
What? Yeah.
Wait, is that just number 2, or did you not have to number 1 either?
No. You have
okay, good. Okay, good. Because I was like, that gets a little dangerous.
You have to hydrate well. But no,
yes.
That's the opposite end. I never even had an inkling of needing to go to the bathroom.
So Javelina last fall was the first time that I ever didn't poop during 100. Big news, people.
Oh gosh, we have stories about Badwater and bathroom stops, and a friend of ours that we crewed.
Oh Lord!
He's a very famous Badwater runner that we got to his first official finish.
I thought you were talking about the other one in bathroom stuff, and I was going to say,
there's
not our friend.
No, we had those bathroom stories too, but yeah.
All I know is that Badwater, you have to have the Biffy bags, right? Is that what they're called? Like they're required gear that you have to carry
or a
with
bucket.
you?
Yeah. I mean, some teams just put a bucket in there.
Yeah, there's a legend of a van people driving around with a full bucket.
We'll save something for part 2.
Yeah, we got a lot. We could go on and on.
So I've actually, while recording, I've already planned part 2, and I write notes throughout this, right? Good. When we come to the Columbus Marathon, whether it's in 25 or 26, a few days before or a few days after, because I'm sure you'll be busy, in-person recording part 2, we can have Patrick there to like just sit in the background or ask questions too. Maybe you can bring some other people on, or maybe we just focus on you. Maybe we bust out like a bunch of episodes in Columbus with people you know, but we'll come back and talk Badwater, ultra marathons, 100 milers, some great race stories. I'm so happy.
I'm sure by then you'll have extra stuff to talk about too, because you guys are always out doing stuff.
Actually, the woman who is a Columbus police officer who is in charge of the marathon security was on my Badwater crew. So she can be there and she can give some feedback on
cool.
On the gun.
On the gun.
Oh,
and
that's right.
Write that down, Eric.
The rapid release Tylenol.
Oh yeah, we have stories. Yeah. I just want to say thank you. We feel honored that you chose us to be part of this. We love the sport. We love the people of the sport. We also just love that whether you're out there for your first time or your 50th, like I said, your time, whatever you're going for, just enjoy this and have fun with it. Don't take any of this stuff so seriously. Very few of us are earning prize money, so let's have fun with it.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a great message.
But guys,
Yes.
it's not over yet. We have 2 final questions.
Oh, no.
We did not prep you for these questions. Sometimes they're really easy, sometimes they're really hard. I'm going to go first. So, On the Runs is having this huge pasta dinner. We're going to have everyone from 2025, all our guests, come to the pasta dinner, and it's going to be this wicked fun event. You get to bring a +1. Both of you get to bring a +1. You can bring anyone in your running community, maybe a famous runner you wanted to run with or hang out or have dinner with once, dead or alive, legends, friends. Who are you going to bring as your +1? And you can't say each other.
And it has to be a runner.
Well,
should be a runner.
and,
Preferred to be a runner.
involved in running.
Okay.
It goes with our theme, but I guess it's not limited to
Like
that, right?
you could say Forrest Gump. That would work. But to say Tom Hanks, but his character from what's the island, the movie where he gets
Yeah.
stranded on an island for 4 years?
Castaway.
Castaway. Let me rephrase that. You could say like Tom Hanks because of the Forrest Gump connection. We're looking for a running connection, and yeah.
I think
This is kind of a curveball.
you know who I would really like to hear from, and I think the food would be good too because I like this style of food. Phidippides.
Ooh.
The guy who
Oh, God, I
started
can't
this whole
spell that.
marathon thing. What's the real story behind that guy? It would be Greek food. And,
Mhm.
and I would just love to know what's the truth to all this nonsense.
That's a great one.
You can only hear the legend so many times, but to get it straight from his mouth, that's the way to go. Good answer.
Yes. You
How about
understood the
Star?
assignment, I think. Like that's a good one. It's the second time I'm asking this question for 2025. You guys understood the assignment. Darris did. We'll see if Star does.
Yeah, okay. So mine is going to be really, really obscure, but I'm going to provide some quick context to it. It is a person that I know, but I have not connected with in a long time. Her name is Rhonda Provost, and Rhonda Provost was the first woman to do an out and back crossing of Death Valley.
Oh, wow.
She did
voluntarily.
She did it a couple years after her husband did it. Time-wise, we can say, yes, her time was faster, but Badwater is not just a race to me. It's an incredibly sacred place. And she didn't do this out and back crossing as part of a sanctioned event. It was more of, it was an independent thing. But when I first was at a camp with her and heard her story, it was before I had run Badwater. It's before I'd even been to Death Valley and developed this relationship that I now have with that piece of the desert and creation. And I would love to sit down with her again and learn more about her experience now that I've also experienced it. And she's a pioneer in this more niche area of ultra running. So that's my answer.
That's a good answer.
Great answer.
She's a great person.
Excellent.
I would love to have her at dinner.
I'm so excited for this question this year. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
So I'm going to keep my question the same. We've had it for, I guess, the entirety of our podcast, but we have ourselves an awesome Spotify playlist. I might decide to do like a 2025 version, but either way. But I would like to invite you both to add a song. So you can each add a song if you like. If not, just one for the two of you. You guys decide. But would you like to add something to our playlist? It can be anything that you like to listen to that just pumps you up. I don't know if you listen to music while you run, but either way, just something that gets you in the mood to run.
Well,
Little Girl Gone by Chinchilla.
Ooh,
I'll send it to you.
Mine is such a softball, such a plane to the masses, but I have to do it. The race, the Columbus Marathon, starts with 50,000 watts of Thunderstruck by AC/DC.
Excellent.
And it is just so, people are like It was actually part of the race before I took over as director, but as director, I've continued it, and that's the start, the countdown, Thunderstruck. It's so wild
It's
to
an awesome
see
song.
15,000 people.
How can
Just
you not get
jumping
pumped up
around
over that?
to that song. You when you come to Columbus for this event, you will just say, we also have fireworks. We also have some crazy stuff.
It's why I'm tired of hearing about
Sounds so fun.
2026. I mean, make the room.
Yeah, come on. Yeah.
Game on.
Yeah, game on. Patrick's daughter lives in Columbus. They can put you up. I mean, come on now.
Yeah.
I like
I'm
this.
not going to impose on anybody. We'll make it out
No,
there.
we are.
You know what? No one's
We
in
are.
our house. You can stay
That's
here.
true.
I mean,
I
I think Patrick did say that you guys,
Do you have-
you guys stay really close to the race, even though you're in Columbus.
I
so
have-
you
I
just
still
like
have to
to be
stay in a
close to
hotel.
headquarters.
Because I get up at 3 a.m. to go to the start. I just have to be down there, and
You know,
Yep.
I could tow the camper. We just need a place to put the camper.
we can.
Oh,
we can,
that's
we can put that. Actually, one of our team members parks his camper down right at our start finish area and stays there
Oh, wow.
overnight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be us.
Can you
got a
imagine
spot for me?
walking out of the camper and just
For
be
sure.
on the start line?
Yeah.
Hey, here we go.
Hey, we'll park. We have spot in the grass lot. It's our kind of our utility area. We'll put you in the we'll have your own little
That's it.
campground.
The
I'm
wheels
towing
are
the
turning.
camper.
Wheels
Yes.
are turning. We're going.
All right, Erika, finally the camper will actually be utilized at a race.
Oh, shut
I
up.
would love that.
There's
Oh
a
my
story
gosh,
behind that.
this would be so
I've actually
cool.
considered spending the night at the start line.
Yeah.
I mean,
Because I'm already there
that
late
cuts your
enough on
commute.
Saturday, and I'm up there early enough Sunday. I might have to camp out. That'd be
Yeah.
kind of fun.
That would
Is
be
there
a blast.
enough room in your camper, Eric? How many people can fit
Oh,
in
we'll
that
set
thing?
up. We'll have a whole campground. We'll set up tents and everything.
How fun would that? That would really be a blast.
Yeah,
20.
I'm down.
Yeah. Okay.
All
Here we
right.
go. Here
We'll
we
see
go.
what we can make happen this year. If not, it will happen. This will happen. This podcast is going nowhere. It's
Star's
going to
like,
grow and
prove
keep
it.
going up.
Receipts. Bring it.
Now we have our question for both of you.
Ooh, this is
Oh.
awesome.
Because
Oh, this is a curveball.
I know. Final curveball before we get off the line. But we do not have a podcast, but we have a very little known online YouTube show called Snack Time with Darris. It was born out of the pandemic. We do have a Snack Time with Darris YouTube channel, which I'm still uploading old episodes to. We did about 40 episodes during the pandemic, during the early part of lockdown. 4 p.m. every day, we had a snack, and we talked about Darris's feelings about snack food. Then we bring it back most years at the holiday season, just because people claim they miss it, and then they don't watch it. So you have run 25, 26, 27 miles. You're walking into an aid station, or you're getting back to your car after a marathon. What is the one snack that you have to have?
Oh man.
Post race,
Post
a
race.
snack. So I ran a marathon yesterday, and
I'll
I
tell you,
had
it's not soup.
yeah,
It's not soup.
I had no appetite. I tried to eat a hamburger and French fries, couldn't do it. And the thing was, when I did my Ironman, I knew what I wanted after the race. I wanted a pizza, and I couldn't eat the pizza. Now, these aren't snacks, but my point is I had no appetite. But Yuki had Twizzlers, and those Twizzlers brought me home.
Okay.
And I love Twizzlers and Starburst. So if it was a
Okay.
snack, and a snack that I think I could definitely eat after, it's Twizzlers. And I
Okay.
would get the
Very
big
nice.
pack of Twizzlers, not the little one with 10. It would be the big bag.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He's eating a whole thing of them.
And then the other thing, it's not a snack, it's a drink. And they don't go good together with Twizzlers, but a cold can of Coca-Cola.
Oh yeah. Coca-Cola after a race is the go-to. It's so
Yes.
good.
Dr. Pepper.
And maybe some chips to go. The Coke would go great with some chips,
See, there
especially
you
the
go.
rigid ones. The rigid
I go
ones.
for salty snacks post race. So like a nice bag of chips, a slice of pizza, but I do like a nice cold chocolate milk Like that is just like there's something about a like Eric, that'll kill you. That'll kill Eric.
Yep.
He's allergic to casein, but but I can have it. And but it's just you get the protein, you get the carbs back. It's hydrating you. It tastes delicious. Like I don't drink a lot of milk as it is, but just a chocolate milk.
It's a good, it fulfills at that moment. Yep. No, we get it.
It sure does.
So
what about you guys? That's a good question to throw back at you.
Snacks?
So when I do ultras, I've gotten into walking lately. I'm doing some walking events, and I carry a can of Pringles in my Nathan vest.
That has been a go-to for me, but the barbecue ones. Yep, I don't know what flavor you like, but
same thing. They're like salty and sweet, but now like people are noticing them, and they're like in the middle of the race. You don't want to be drawing attention. You're just trying to do your thing, and someone calls out, "Are those Pringles?" Yes, they are.
You can't have any.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to share. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I thought of this. They're mine, but yeah.
Good answer.
So I found your YouTube channel. Oh, no. I am now a subscriber. The thing is, Star, I see you, but I don't. Who's the guy you're with in all these videos?
Yeah,
I don't recognize this guy.
Yeah, so the beard thing. So the beard is happening for two reasons. So Star and I are working to bring a family to the U.S. from Ethiopia. We met in 2019, and in February we really started in earnest to get them here, and we got them to Uganda, and now we're trying to get them to the U.S. But I'm not shaving until they're here.
Oh, what an amazing thing! I hate that it's
sort of a reminder
so long.
to myself of the efforts.
But your beard
and then
looks great.
simultaneously, the World Beard and Mustache Championships are being held in Pittsburgh this summer of 2025. July 4th weekend. And so I thought, I'm just going to keep going. And if they're not here from Ethiopia yet, I'm just going to enter those contests and see what happens. So who knows? I mean, it's getting closer and closer. I mean, you're already into the new year here. I don't know. It's going to keep on going.
I think it's a great look.
Honestly, it's a distinguishing factor because Patrick has said he's seen you like out randomly in Columbus and just like, oh, there's Darris with his awesome beard. So
I know
it's just a good look on you.
It's just being silly. Life is too darn serious. We had such a terrible day today. We were having some plumbing work done, and before the plumber could get here, our sewer backed up. So now we had two plumbers at the same time.
One in the basement, one in the bathroom.
While another guy was working on our chimney that was falling apart. So we had like work crews, so that's the kind of day you can have. So you might as well have fun.
Yes.
So have some Pringles and Twizzlers and enjoy your day.
Yes. Guys, this was so cool. What a fun one. Like,
Thank you for finding us interesting.
Because I'm not sure.
I think you're so interesting.
Let me tell you this quick little side story is, obviously we're recording months in advance with a lot of these, okay? And I ran the marathon yesterday, and as I'm like, oh, it's Sunday, I have to make show notes for today, and then we're having a beer and a hamburger that I can't eat because I have no appetite.
Right.
And I said, Erika, it's on you. And she goes, no, it's on Patrick. And she sends a group chat to Patrick and says, Patrick, we need notes. Guys,
you did a great job.
I glazed up my phone a few times with all the notes and the questions Patrick asked. I didn't have to. We didn't need to do it. Like, you two were amazing. You ran the show
so wonderfully.
Yeah, there's so like.
Don't you love it when you're completely unprepared for a meeting and it ends up going perfectly?
Yes. In fact, Erika goes to me. She says to me in a text an hour before recording, do you have the notes yet? Can you send them so I can print them? And I go, I thought you were doing it.
And I was like, oh, I was busy today at work. I didn't have time.
Well, so this morning, I said to Darris, so we've got the shit snaker in the basement.
No, when you said, I thought you were doing it, that's exactly what it felt like when I called that company and said, hey, did you get the chips on? what chips? I thought you
Oh,
knew.
no.
Yeah, look, it all comes full circle.
No. I gotta be fair. Okay, so there didn't end up being any poop in our basement. It was just roots. We got out of that very easily, but we had some plumbing issues in our bathroom and had to have a new sink installed and stuff ripped out of the wall. Then our chimney was overdue for the work that's being done, but is being done. But they found bats up there. Okay, and at about 3:00, when I'm going out for my run, Darris goes, "And you're going to be ready at 6, right?" I go, "For what?" So I know our job was just to talk, but I think we were all in the same space, and it ended up working out perfectly.
Yeah.
This was amazing.
But I'll end on this note. And I'm not just saying this because the show's already done. You've already recorded us. You're stuck with us.
Yes.
You two made us comfortable.
Yeah.
I've done enough of these,
happy.
and Star has done enough of these where the people basically they make it about them, and the hosts basically, now that I'm done talking about me, why don't you talk about me for a while? One of those kind. And so thank you. This was you genuinely had interest, and you understand. I mean, you run. You know the audience, and what we're trying to talk about is it's all heartfelt fun that I think you come across that way. So thank you.
Thank you so much for that, man.
We
Thank you
couldn't have
so
done
much.
it without you guys. You guys are
No.
very easygoing.
Yeah.
You're willing to share. Like,
No,
we
like
didn't have to pry, pick stuff out of you. You're just like, here we go. We're going to talk. And that's what we love. We just love sharing the stories. And it's our job to make you feel comfortable. So I'm
Well, you
glad
did.
that we could. And I hope we made your day a little bit better than.
Oh no,
than
it was
thinking.
a great day. Hey,
Well, let me tell you this. In my intro, I don't know if you caught on, but I used the word pod fam. Everyone who comes on the pod is part of our pod fam. This poster right here behind me, that's our first 100 episodes of our pod fam.
wow.
I said you were second family pod fam, like second cousins, because you know Patrick and Angela and people, right?
Now
and I go,
you're stuck with us.
now you're first family. I go, they're second family pod fam, becoming first family pod fam.
I'm giving
So,
it right back, Star.
yeah,
Yeah.
Darris and Star Blackford, welcome to the pod fam.
Yay!
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Welcome to the pod fam, guys. You guys are amazing. Listeners, we hit the 2-hour mark. I really hope you enjoyed these two. They're fantastic.
We'll have them
Darris
back
and Star
soon.
Blackford on the On the Runs podcast.